and Will, and we'd like to give you a brief introduction to our film, Flashback.
When you're a grassroots filmmaker working on no budget, it's generally important to be practical with your story concept. But with Flashback, we honestly threw all of that out the window.
We knew we wanted to set our story on a vast, crazy future Hollywood backdrop. So by creating a stylized digital world, we were able to let our imaginations run wild.
We shot wherever we could find room for our blue screens, theaters, apartments, dorm lobbies, even a cheerleader's locker room.
Using Adobe After Effects, we crafted hundreds of buildings, objects, and vehicles out of thousands of carefully constructed Photoshop pics. It was a painstaking process, but it gave a group of film geeks working out of the garage a chance to make a sci-fi adventure extravaganza.
Angry mobs, robot armies, shootouts, time travel, mass destruction, nothing was out of reach.
But even with all this fun and chaos, what we hope makes Flashback a movie for the ages is its comedy at heart. We wrote the script as a satire of where Hollywood might be in 1,000 years, and we populated our world with classic Disney-esque character types who simply yearn for better lives.
We really just wanted Flashback to be the ultimate goofy fans movie, so we included everything that makes Hollywood blockbusters capture the imagination of a child in each of us. Adventure, romance, heroism, villainy, gorgeous score, musical number, even a dinosaur.
It's a hilarious, fun adventure that we hope will be an inspiration to indie filmmakers to see just how much can be accomplished by a small team to commit themselves to a project they love and see it through.
All right, welcome everybody to the Making a Massive Movie with Minimal Money panel. I'm Brendan Rogers, I'm the director of Flashback, and this is Will Phillips, the producer and the writer of Flashback. And basically we're going to talk about how to make a big action-adventure sci-fi comedy on pocket change, essentially, which is what we did. Flashback, kind of got a little introduction there, but Flashback in a nutshell, it's an action-adventure sci-fi comedy about a movie studio of the future that has run out of original ideas, literally dried up. So they're taking old films and kind of rehashing them into horrible titles like Die Hard with the Wind, the Hobbit games, you know, the Hobbit and the Hunger Games combined. They might put robots in a movie to replace actors, any kind of ridiculous gimmick to bring audiences back into the theaters. And Flashback Films, which is the fictional studio in the movie, has taken this idea of kind of pillaging the past for content of the future one step further, with the idea of creating a time machine that they used to go back in time to gather props and actors they need for their movies. So they're literally stealing from the past for content of the future. So you might imagine this is kind of an homage to Hollywood films. It's also poking fun at the studio system, so it's kind of a satire and ridiculous comedy at the same time. The story revolves around a janitor that works on the back lot of Flashback Films. His name is Jack Taylor, and he's completely in love with the studio's main starlet, Tiffany Sloan. He manages to get a date with her, but things go drastically wrong on the date, and so he decides to try to fix his mistakes by using the studio's time machine, but of course he doesn't know how to use the time machine, so all hell breaks loose. And so it becomes kind of a fight for survival for our characters, as well as a fight for survival of the film industry as we know it. So as you might imagine, Flashback is pretty epic scale. I think, let's play the trailer, the movie trailer, so you can kind of get a flavor for it, and we'll continue talking about it. Action!
In a future where actors are robotically remastered and time travel is on the cutting edge of movie-making technology, one film studio spirals into chaos when a greedy executive schemes collide with the last human janitor's attempts to date the star of his dreams.
What could go wrong?
Back in
Man, this movie making is some dangerous stuff.
It's kind of a weird dubbed version because the audio seems to be awesome on the video. So, Flashback, as you can see, it's full of a lot of crazy action sequences. There's robots, there's time travel. For a low-budget film, this was kind of a ridiculous undertaking. But we literally made this on pocket change and largely produced in a garage here in Central Florida. This was shot in DeLand, Florida, largely at Stetson University, using local actors. And what ended up happening was, through the process, we obviously finished the feature film. We managed to get a distribution deal that was represented at the Cannes Film Festival in 2012. And it's been on HBO and Cinemax. It's really kind of an exciting story as far as we're concerned. So we're here to kind of talk about the whole process. If anybody has any questions at any point during the discussion, please feel free to ask away. We want to guide this kind of discussion in the direction you want to go. We kind of have a set pattern how to do this, but if there's any aspect of the filmmaking process you're interested in, want us to elaborate on, just ask us. So yeah, Flashback. It's like I said, it's an action adventure sci-fi comedy. It's largely a love letter to the films that made us want to be filmmakers in the first place. You can see obviously there's a lot of direct references to films, but we're big fans of Star Wars, Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, so on and so forth. So there's obvious references to it, but also kind of tonal references as well. And in making this film, it became clear that if we're referencing things in Hollywood, if we're really trying to pay homage to Hollywood, our canvas and the scope of this film has to be pretty intense and pretty wide. And we tried making this movie on location, meaning real sets and stuff. And the result was not too pretty because, again, we don't have much money for sets and whatnot and constructing things. So that effort of the film kind of fell apart. And we started working on this idea of shooting everything on blue screen, which is ultimately what we did. And I'm going to turn it over to Will, and we'll kind of guide you through that process a little bit.
Sounds good. Actually, why don't you go ahead and put the light, there was like just the front one, because that looked pretty good actually. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to play a quick clip of the high school version. We sometimes play this, we sometimes don't, but it cracks me up. You'll see the four-man's version of the movie you're going to see tonight. And this attempt completely busted. We started filming it on real locations, and it just didn't come together. A lot of the cast had to go their separate ways. I mean, we were in high school at the time. So there's many obvious reasons why something of this scale couldn't happen for a smaller group of high school students.
Well, hi there. I'm Lamar Garrett, President of Studio Operations here at Flashback Films. Yeah, aside, Jim, boom!
Look, I really don't want to talk to you right now.
Yes. Feel the force flowing through your history.
Look, Tiffany, you live way up here. Well, I live way down here. We're from two different worlds. What's this?
I'm programmed to record and obey everything Lamar Garrett says in my audio range.
All accomplishments here at Flashback Films are a direct result of our continued support from the Nature Feed Corporation. That's it!
So there's really a bomb that's about to go off.
Oh, of course, that's not important. Oh God, the bomb!
Not too good.
It's worth noting though that the same guy playing our lead actor there with the glasses is the same guy who ends up playing our lead character, about 3 or 4 years after this was filmed when we started filming the current version of the film. So after this was done, the whole thing was sort of scrapped. Most of the cast sort of spread out, went off to college, different places, and it was sort of Brennan's job to get everything back together. It was one of those things where you could have just said, okay, well that didn't work, move on, do something simpler. But us and the third guy, John, who couldn't make it today, are just insane enough that we said, okay, well how can we do the crazy movie we wanted to make? And that's where blue screen came into the mix. And I'm going to play a clip of the video that inspired us to do this. This is a ridiculous video, but you'll see the sets in the background are incredibly simple versions of like photo backdrops. And the fact that the person who made this video, not one of us, was willing to upload some of their projects to kind of demonstrate what they did for the process, was able to inspire us to try to use the same process to create a digital world. And that's also part of the inspiration for why we like to do this panel and get one-on-one and talk to people about how we do things. Because spreading this kind of technology is really fun. So here's a really quick clip from the project that video that we found that inspired us.
Gay boyfriend, I don't really care that you are queer. Gay boyfriend, I never feel lonely when you are near. Gay boyfriend.
So you can already see as ridiculous as the video is, all the 3D sets that they've got going on. It just shows you the breadth of, even with simple effects, the things you can accomplish. And our goal was to take each and every one of these and make it, of the same piece enough that it didn't pull you out of the film and make you think, oh, I'm still in a fake world. Oh, I'm still in a fake world. Hopefully after the first 5 minutes of our film, you start forgetting, oh yeah, I'm in a fake world, we know. And start getting sucked in. And this is what I'm going to show you here. They showed some of the examples of what their effects look like on their green screens. And with this, let's see, that's a similar camera that we actually shot on. There's a nice shot of a 3D After Effects type coming up here. See how they're building their layers. It's a similar process to what we ended up doing. And the fact that they were sharing this kind of stuff online meant that we could look at that style and study it ourselves and find our own version of it. So we decided, okay, we're going to do this on blue screen. We were sort of naive about how long we thought that was going to take filming in the backdrops. It ended up taking 4 years to film the movie and 3 years to do all the backdrops. Filming took that long because we could only do it during summers. Everyone was still in college and our actors were dispersed to the winds and everybody kind of came back to the land over the summer. It's like, okay, time to go again. And every summer was like, well, can we get everyone back again? We succeeded. That was one of the things that we were really thankful to our cast and crew, that everybody was able to come together and do it again each summer for those 4 years. But even when you're filming on blue screen, there are a number of practical challenges. It frees you up a lot in post-production, but when you're on set, you've got to think about a great number of things, including, if you're always facing the blue screen, you need to, instead of moving the camera on the actors, rotate the actors and use your imagination to think, okay, now I'm facing the left wall of the room, now I'm facing the right wall, now I'm spinning around the characters. And I'm going to play a short clip here showing some of the practical challenges that come into play when you're working on set with the blue screen filming.
Weren't too many set pieces, but some of my favorites that were constructed were Lamar's hover pod. John's mom, she actually took this plastic garbage can and built this little desk around it, and it was perfect.
Oh man, I'm a man, glorified trash can. When I first saw the date scene couch, it's this leather material that's literally stapled to a nice couch. I was like, oh, our date is taking place on a couch. I thought we were in a limo. Oh, you are in a limo. We're on a couch. Actually, it wasn't until I finally saw the final scene that I was like, oh wow, it's not a couch anymore.
There's shots of us doing the date scene over and over and over again, and they couldn't get the crane to work.
We did this one scene where we're sitting on a couch 80 times, and after a while, you might go a little crazy.
Actually, you'll do a cock out for cuckoo puffs.
I love Descartes. I can't stop laughing.
Our lead actor there, Andrew, I don't think it's not a day job. He frequently runs and does shows with an improv troupe, so that's one of his passions. So for him, it was sort of not too far a jump going from doing improv with a group of people on the black curtain to going to something like this and doing all of the pretend stuff on the blue screen. I think that the fact that a lot of us have theater background, we actually, Brendan and I met during a theater stage production. We were both acting and sort of lent itself to this blue screen filming even better than had we been only used to being on sets that were there and present, and if you didn't need imagination to fulfill them.
No, imagination is a key to shooting on blue screen, because not only, as Will said, are you not seeing the sets in front of you, don't really have a sense of geography when you're on the blue screen, but actually the lead actor, Andrew, you'll see in the film later that there's two versions of him running around. So oftentimes he was literally acting off of somebody that wasn't there. So, you know, obviously having to imagine their performance and acting off of nothing is quite a challenge. I think there's a video, right, of showing the split up of the boardroom or whatever.
That might be this one.
Maybe.
Since we're just such a small team, and also this took place over the course of several years, there was never really like a full pre-production phase and then production. We would be shooting one day, that night we'd go home and we'd work out the pre-production for the next day's shoot and be right back on set again the next day.
The crew was primarily Will, John, and I, but we're all actors in the film as well, so very often actors and actresses were called in to hold the boom mic. If you weren't in the shot, you had to hold the boom. You might have to add wind effects.
During the shots where I had to pretend an explosion was going on behind me, or there was a raptor that was attacking me and all I saw was John's hand in a raptor mask.
That little sequence in the boardroom there, it took all 4 summers to complete the actual physical acting that we needed for that scene. The businessmen were all filmed the first summer, summer 2005. The businesswomen were filmed the summer of 2006. Maynard enters the room. Maynard was filmed summer of 2007. And there's 2 security robots standing behind the door the whole time, summer of 2008. And that's just one of the 30 films we plan to release in the month of May.
Finishing production on the film was, you know, a pretty big moment for us to finally wrapped on shooting. We also knew we had a lot of work left ahead of us.
So this is where we come into the technical side of things, and I'm going to give a really light overview of what the programs After Effects and Photoshop can do to create these backgrounds. But it's something that we can talk about forever in detail, so if anyone actually really wants to know tech, feel free to hit us up afterward and get more in detail about how the programs work and how to sort of break them to do these kinds of things. So this is a process that we like to call it digital origami, and this video will show it in a moment, but you often see with 3D objects and 3D creatures, they're always going for these smooth, realistic textures, and we knew that we didn't have the tech and experience and team to pull that kind of thing off, so we thought, okay, well, what artistically can we do that's interesting and looks unique and will fulfill what we need and we get done? And we do Photoshop. I was a digital artist that worked with Stetson University in DeLand. I worked there in the marketing department for 7 years doing video work and design work, print stuff. And John, who is the third team member who couldn't make it tonight, was constantly doing music videos and graphics and effects and working on learning video effects for that. So we kind of combined his video effects with my Photoshop work, each taught each other multiple things and sort of built up to where we got this method. And it really is taking things that you create in Photoshop, individual layers and pictures and pieces and textures, and then bending them into looking like shapes and buildings. Kind of like mapping, if you've ever seen or done anything like that in computer or video games, where they create the textures first and put them over objects. For us, it was creating panels and then bending them, digital origami, into the shapes to create cars, to create buildings, to create vehicles, whatever we needed. And the complexity of the object, how many layers you needed to create for that, depended just how close it was to the camera. There are some vehicles and objects that are incredibly detailed and took hundreds upon hundreds of layers just themselves. And then if a building's way in the background, we'll just make one flat layer and it'll never be seen up close. So usually it really is the things close to the camera are really complex, the things far away are very simple. And then there are other times when we had things in the background that we then had to be close to, so we would make multiple versions of it. Because if you brought in many complex buildings and objects into the program After Effects, it would start crashing the program. So it would have to have the versions you would see up close, the versions background, and we'd use the ones depending on what you needed. So I'm going to play a little bit and hopefully make all this make a little more sense if it isn't making sense.
Usually, movies are going for a more photorealistic look, and so they'll use programs that are actually designed for making detailed 3D models. But with our background in video, editing, and simple effects, we had to use After Effects, and we knew it was capable of 3D set design to some extent. It's working with flat layers and assembling them. It's kind of like building a house of cards.
It all begins in Photoshop with just tiny individual layers that look like pieces of buildings or pieces of objects or pieces of vehicles. If you make these panels, then you fold them all together in After Effects into building vehicles, whatever you need.
This whole concept of digital origami was such an interesting idea. It was like, yeah, what if we take this simple concept of creating shapes out of two-dimensional photographs and blow it up on an epic scale? Let's make an entire movie studio backlot using this After Effects principle. I think the number of layers on the backlot is something ridiculous, like 10,000 layers. And I remember that day when the Flashback backlot was finally assembled, and it was awesome to see really the world. For the first time, the world of Flashback right there in front of you.
And so it was a really interesting process. In some ways it was limiting, but at the same time it really forced us to think creatively and try to think outside the box and really find some sort of a creative solution to make sure that our vision wasn't compromised.
So that was the process that took 3 years. And so even though we could only shoot during the summers, this we literally did every day we could after our day jobs. Because of course no one was paying us to do this. It's all a passion project. So, you know, we would go to work, come back, do this. And so it's kind of like this was our version of sleeping. This is how much Flashback could get done in that day. So the backdrops that you'll be seeing in the film took 3 years to do. And then I thought there are only 2 other things that we couldn't do in-house. Because everything else, we like our tagline, we like to say it's a movie made by 3 guys in a garage. And it's because we were sitting in a garage around a bunch of computers making this thing. But there were 2 things we couldn't do in-house, and one is, like we were talking about, the more complex CG. We needed a dinosaur in a few shots in the movie. We found an artist through Full Sail, which is a school in Orlando, or near Orlando, maybe just outside. But anyways, Full Sail, we got one of their alumni to help us out with the CG dinosaur. And then the other thing is we found, and this is always really important to us, we're huge fans of the movie blockbusters and their soundtracks, all the huge orchestral music scores. We wanted this to sound like a Hollywood movie. And that's amazing what that does for the imagination, taking you out of the independent film mindset and into the Hollywood mindset. And this being a parody of Hollywood, the send-up and love letter of Hollywood had to sound like that. So we made a video to get the attention of a composer, independent movie composer, who we found and thought was really good out in LA, and made this video for it and sent him to him and got a positive reaction from him and he joined us on the project. So this here is the final piece of the puzzle.
What really got me excited about Flashback was this video that John Will and Brendan made for me to pitch the idea of the movie. And what was really cool was it said for George Shaw's eyes only, so it felt like I was a secret agent. It was like a really special mission that I just had to say yes to. And it just got me really excited because it's the kind of movie I loved watching growing up. There are 2 particular sequences within the movie that I really enjoyed scoring. The very opening montage and then the opening studio lot tour. Every 2 seconds they were just jumping from one movie reference to another parody of another movie. Technically it's very difficult to jump every 2 seconds and change the music so it sounds like a totally different movie and yet feels seamless. That challenge on top of emulating these great composers that I admire was a lot of fun. I loved how this movie and the music turned out. So few times these days with Hollywood studio movies, the composers really get to write epic, bold, thematic, orchestral score. So it was really a blessing for me to get to work with filmmakers who were asking for bold themes and letting them write their very best. I feel like this is probably the best score I've written today.
Yeah, Jordan.
It's really hard to be objective about the piece, but I remember when we sat back and actually watched the entire film, how exciting that was.
We've been working on this for 9 years, and we've always had this vision. And seeing it there on the screen, done, it was surreal.
We wanted to make a film that would do something that would entertain us, and I would say that it does. We watched the film and we enjoyed it.
I was blown away. I was blown away by these graphics. It's just awesome what they were able to pull together. I knew I had a group of guys who were very dedicated to it and were putting absolutely everything they had into making this movie a reality. So I knew if it was possible that these were the guys that were going to make it happen, and it turned out great.
It's everything that Brennan kept on reassuring me over and over and over again. It looks incredible. It's crazy to have witnessed John, Will, and Brennan being the students that they were, learning the programs that they learned all on their own, up to the point where Flashback is what it is now.
I'm extremely proud to have been a part of it and to have worked with the amazing people that I've been able to work with. It's just one of those rare, once-in-a-lifetime experiences.
If you want something bad, and 3 of us were great friends and wanted this movie to be done, to make it happen. If anything, this movie is just a testament to what a small group of people can do with no money. Everything just kind of fell into place, you know, it's almost fate that we met as a film group, the right cast members came into place. It was magical. It was really magical.
So we finished up the movie in 2011, and we we were left with the daunting task of finding distribution. And for any independent filmmaker out there, finding distribution, I think, is actually the toughest part of the filmmaking process. Which, of course, is the last thing you want to hear after you've taken several years to make your movie. But so with Flashback, as you can see, there's no like name stars in it, meaning like big celebrities or anything like that. So we couldn't market it on that in that way. But because it's a genre picture, because it's a sci-fi film, an action picture, we thought that would be marketable and maybe we can get a deal that way. So we kind of took a couple of routes to gain the interest of distribution companies in LA. And one of the ideas we had was, because this is a movie about a fictional movie studio making terrible films, what if we treated that fictional film studio, Flashback Films, what if we treated that like it's a real place? It's a real studio. And so we made a YouTube channel, which we definitely encourage you all to check out, Flashback Movie on YouTube, where we take a lot of things that are barely touched on in the film, some of the ridiculous posters or ideas that are set in the film for movies, and we flesh them out into YouTube skits. And we kind of built up this large database of parody skits, parody trailers and stuff. And if we got it, I'd love to play a clip of one. Just an example.
My dear Frodo, you asked me once if I had told you everything there was to know about my adventures. Well, I can honestly say I told you the truth. I can more honestly say that I completely lied about everything.
Hello, Magnus. I'm looking for someone to join in on a rather unexpected competition.
Well, this is it. The 12 districts of Middle-earth have each been asked to fly to battle to the death, and the Shire is no exception.
Think the hobbits stand a chance?
Come, good luck. Well, perhaps I should mention, the tributes will also be treated to a third breakfast.
I volunteer. I volunteer as tribute!
From the Shire, and practicality, and no romances. They are to be had in your favor.
The combatants include men, dwarves, orcs, elves, and goblins.
The only entrant to function as both of his district's tributes.
Let's go volunteer first, Francis. I'll volunteer first.
Just a wish I had a few good takers. You're gonna die, Mr. Bilbo. What a lunch. I just can't afford to eat like that.
That's gotta hurt.
How did you go about? And giant spiders. Ooh, and so the sun arrived a few hours early. That'll teach those trolls to make fun of my hat.
Sir, the poster sent to the London now.
Has he now? Let's turn around.
So the idea was, you may not be looking for Flashback on YouTube because you've probably never heard of Flashback, but you might be looking for The Hobbit, or you might be looking for The Hunger Games, and stumble upon this parody video, which is definitely comedically in the same vein as our film. And then on YouTube, if you were watching the video, at the end you'd see an ad for the trailer Flashback, and kind of a link to find our website and all that. So literally, we have, what is it, like 20 videos, something like that? Yeah, they're basically commercials for Flashback, but they're self-contained parody skits in and of themselves. So we built up this YouTube channel that kind of is a database of these videos, and we slowly built up a fan base that way. And then the other part of it was, after we started that going, we wrote 340, something like that, letters to different distribution companies, literally just letters out to them. And from that we got, I believe it was 4 responses. 2 companies were actually interested in making deals, and then finally we signed with one. And in 2012, Flashback was taken to the Cannes Film Festival, where it got international distribution. We've been on HBO and Cinemax, like I said before, and it's led to us doing a second feature film. It's called Bubba the Redneck Werewolf. It's a very serious drama, I assure you. But no, it's based on a comic book series that's been around since the 90s, and definitely be on the lookout for that. We're kind of in the process of finding that distribution right now. And of course, we're in pre-production on our 3rd film called Daylight Savings Must Die. It's about a group of friends that go on a crusade to stop daylight savings time and inadvertently kind of bring about the end of the world. So we love epic, fun cinema, and Flashback was kind of the start for us. So if anybody has any questions on the whole process, we'd be happy to answer them. Any questions? Yeah.
Are you guys fans of Lloyd Kaufman and Troma, and of course Kevin Smith and all of his early stuff? It just seems that there's a lot of influence.
Oh, definitely, yeah, absolutely. I'd add to that Robert Rodriguez. If any filmmakers in the audience that haven't seen Robert Rodriguez's 10-minute film school on YouTube, I highly recommend it. It's awesome. Like, he talks about how in today's age with digital technology and all the software available, what you really should do as an artist is learn everything you can from a technical standpoint, and then you're kind of invincible. Because otherwise, you'll be writing a great script, you have a great idea for a movie, but you may not necessarily know how to do those programs, After Effects or Photoshop or whatever. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to be beholden to somebody that does. And like Will was saying, this whole process was kind of learning the programs as we went along. We had no idea how to initially use After Effects, but we learned it along the way. So yeah, absolutely. Kevin Smith, love Kevin Smith. Robert Rodriguez, huge fan, absolutely. Any other questions? Yeah.
I know you say you used YouTube for distribution or bringing awareness to your film. Did you use other social media to bring, like Twitter or Facebook and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're a bit less knowledgeable about Twitter, but we definitely use Facebook a lot, and we just discovered what Instagram is.
All I have to do is post a photo of my cat and people were following me. It was great. It's funny because we are kind of behind the times in social media, and we instantly knew YouTube and Facebook were the 2 that we knew. The Facebook page is pretty lively, actually, and it's the same as the YouTube. You just type in Flashback movie, all one word, into the Facebook search bar, it'll find us. And same thing with YouTube. And so we constantly are posting things up there, whether it's new videos like this or just updates for what kinds of things we're filming now. We've just started a blog which is going to sort of just touch on different topics, both in the industry and kind of how-to tips and for the upcoming filmmakers. Just discovered Instagram. This is literally like last week. Someone's telling us like, you're putting everything on Facebook. You should just let Instagram feed it there on its own, and it'll be on that too. I'm like, Instagram? Isn't that just a photo? They're like, yeah, but you can connect it to anything you do. And so now we're starting to do that a little more. I think I've done it 5 times now. So big poster. But really, the Facebook page is sort of the hub of all this, and you can find all the other little things we're working on through there. And it really is only a matter of how many things can you do at once. Any other questions? Yeah, on any aspect of filmmaking.
Sure. You guys talk about making it for pocket change. Ballpark of budget. How much is pocket change?
That's a good question because the budget was constantly changing. Because it's like, oh, we need one more thing. All right, run out to the store and get it. Oh gosh.
And it's funny because, and this is sort of as true, is that in general, like when you're in the industry, you're bargaining, and you don't have distribution. This is one of those chips you never really play down because people like it's good if your movie looks like it's worth a lot more than it is. I'll say that in the early years, like for the first like 6 or so years, we probably weren't spending more than $1,000 a year. So like just like throughout the year, something. Oh, we get a costume. Oh, we get a thing. Oh, we get a new computer. You know, things like that. Right at the end, there was sort of a spike because the single most expensive thing in the film is the music. And we got our composer to volunteer his time, which was amazing, but you can't get a whole like orchestra to volunteer their time. So paying for the studio space rental and musicians ended up being the one thing that was like truly expensive for us. But fortunately, we both had day jobs and we had been saving up throughout all this time, and we were able to pull that off. But the movie was made for, I'll say, under $50,000, which is a generous estimate. And yet, when we were at the Cannes Film Festival, they're trying to sell it there. So now, like, we were there mainly to tag along and help promote, but it's now the distributor's task to try to get foreign markets interested. So we're sort of just tagging along, watching the process. And I don't remember the number, but in the book, like, I was, did it say 13 million?
It's the budget was between $3 and $10 million,
which is a lot. They never asked us what the budget. They don't want to know.
You're right. Yeah, right. I think so.
And I guess the goal was just to make it look fancier to people on paper. It was kind of a compliment to us that they thought the graphics were good enough to merit that. Because we never thought we were fooling anyone that we were Hollywood. But for independent film, I thought it looked pretty good, and I think that kind of helped us to get a distribution deal, and also make them think they could put that $3 million plus label on it, which to us is just laughable. Anything else?
Any other questions?
What computer programs did you use for the movie and like designing the sets and stuff?
Oh, great question. The main program, we're all Adobe based. So Adobe Premiere for the just straight cutting of the footage. After Effects, as Will mentioned, for a lot of the background.
Incredible special effects program.
Incredible program. And Photoshop. Basically those three programs. But yeah, After Effects, for any independent filmmaker, learn After Effects.
It's a secret weapon.
Amazing.
You'll blow people's minds. We do commercials for a living, like, hopefully someday this will be the total living, and that's kind of the goal. Right now it's still sort of a passion thing, building up steam. We're happy if we can just get to the next film. But for a living, we do commercials with all the stuff we learned from this. And so taking the programs that we learned from this, it's kind of gave us all the credentials we need to start doing commercials. And so we do a lot of promo videos for companies, hospitals, lawyers, things like that. And After Effects is the secret weapon, it really is. It looks daunting at first, because you see something like a world like this, there's a lot of steps. But at a base level, After Effects is just a program that gives you a whole number of interactions you can do between pieces of footage. And they're all simple, and you pile them all together and they become complex. So you just start with them.
In Polk County, they do teach using those tools.
Oh, where at?
In Polk County. If you're into the media, the morning shows that they have on the schools, people do those.
Great.
Go to classes on this during the summertime.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
they're through your morning shows that you see from elementary through high school.
Yeah, and I think because you were in a video production class in high school, they didn't teach it then. This was it.
Marshall is one of the leading people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but they really should be. Anyone in video production.
It should be.
Really
I think it should be taught in high school or even before that. It's essential.
The building that has it is there in the Highland City. That kind of building there, that's where they have all the summer classes.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
they start out, the people working at the media center, doing the morning show, and take all these guys to Photoshop, start with, After Effects, and all those are thrown in.
Yeah, that's a perfect background for building up something like
Yeah,
that.
if you get into the morning shows in the county, you get into the whole stuff.
That's awesome. Cool. That's awesome. I think we have time for one more question. Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Are you guys, I know you were putting on a production. Were you guys really close together, or where do you guys live at? I mean, was it just like, okay, we're planning on this week, and we're all going to meet here, we're going to do this recording, or whatever you're doing?
Yeah, we're all based in DeLand, Florida. Will and I met at Stetson. We were college students there, and John, our third producer, was not going to Stetson, but kind of an unofficial member of the theater company there. And a lot of the cast members were from the theater department at Stetson, so that's kind of our central base. And they, Stetson was awesome because they let us shoot on the blue screen in their theater. Like the video said, dorm lobbies. One time we used an empty cheerleader's locker room to set up the blue screen. But yeah, we were all definitely kind of bunched up there in Atlanta.
My high school drama teacher told me one thing about putting on production. She said, beg, borrow, and steal anything you need.
Absolutely.
You know, if somebody's got something, you can borrow it versus going and paying it or having somebody build it, put it on.
Oh, absolutely. And the return policy at Walmart is incredible.
Before the score, where we hired the orchestra, back in the days when we really were just, going, oh, we need a costume, oh, we need this. The single most expensive thing for a long time was this white dress that's used like in one scene in the film. You'll see there's a flashback in the movie Flashback. A flashback moment where it shows our star actress the first moment she acts, and she's in this white dress you only see in that scene. I don't remember how much that thing was, like $300.
Yeah.
It was different. For us, I was like, ah! We returned that. We were able to use it once and keep it nice and neat. So, if you're filmmaking, think about that.
I guess that's it. Thank you so much for coming, and definitely stick around to watch the movie. It's next up. Thank you.
Again, my name is Carissa Green. I'm the communication manager for the city of Auburndale, and I'm one of the co-organizers for CityCon. And we want to thank you, the fans, for showing up for our second annual event. This means so much to us. We're going to have a lot of giveaways at each panel discussion. So please, please, please pay close attention to your program booklet. We're occupying all of our downtown facilities on this side of the park for all of the events that we have going on tomorrow. This road will be shut down, so you won't be able to park on the road like you did today. So we have, if you go to our website, it shows a map of all the different parking lots. But I mean, anywhere downtown you can park, and then just walk on over to the convention floor and everything. Again, please pay close attention to the program booklet and use the hashtag CityCon on all your social media posts and let everybody know that you were here at this event, okay? All right, and then also Salem's is selling this evening, so if you haven't gotten dinner yet, please get that. And to encourage you to stay for the movie, the big whammy prize that I'm giving away is the movie packet for the digital movie for Star Wars Force Awakens. So you can win the first one, and a Kylo Ren figurine. But you got to stay through the movie in order to win that one. So I'm gonna pull for that after Flashback is over with. So once I give all of the door prizes away, I'll give you 15 minutes if you want to hit the convention floor again and get something to eat and then come back, and then that's going to be our big grand prize that we're going to give, and we're going to give that away at the end of the viewing of Flashback. I also want to remind you that in the senior center we have our fan clubs and we have some additional vendors, so please go down